Ladies and gentlemen, our referee has called a stop to this contest, declaring the winner by knockout and new MMA show! Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting round of and new MMA show. I'm your host, Michael Hansen, and I do all kinds of mystifying things with microphones. Chief among them, I am a professional ring announcer, and I am joined this week, as I always am every week, by my two friends, two distinguished gentlemen who are both also quite handsome. Joining us first on the left side of your screens from New York, Mark Prio. Mark, how you doing, bud?
Doing good. What's going on, boys? Just got back from a little 3-day golf trip, which was lovely. But I am excited that we finally have a huge card. I feel like we really have not had one since the inaugural episode of this show.
Yeah,
we had that Lewis pay-per-view, but it was not really that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So I'm hyped that we got a big one to talk about here.
Yeah, we've endured quite a few fight nights and small cards. So we got a big one coming up.
Yes.
And also joining us on the right side of your screens from Florida, Omar Artola. Omar, how you doing?
Doing well. Had a interesting experience on, was it Monday, where we did some clinching at my gym, and it's the first time I think I've ever gone full 100% clinch only fighting kind of deal. And he basically just let us free spar in the clinch, and I did really well. But I got to tell you, I totally understand where this gas tank comes into play, because it looks like you're not doing anything. I promise you I am. We all were. We were all dead by the end of that. I think it was like 15 minutes. We were all on the floor, soaked wet of our own sweat. It was a real eye-opener to understand exactly how much gas you end up using being in the clinch, even when it looks like you're not doing anything.
Yeah. Different from striking, huh?
100%. 100%. Wow. Also, taking down guys that are like 6'2", possible, exhausting.
Well, we have quite the episode for our listeners this week because of the massive pay-per-view coming up this weekend, as we mentioned. So let me just quickly run down this show. So we're going to go, as we always do first, going on the marquee. Then we're going to talk about another big fight from last weekend. Then we're going to dive inside the MMA sphere with Omar Artola. And then we're going to preview UFC 266. We have a massive card coming up this Saturday. So for that reason, we are only going to recap 2 fights from this past weekend. And because there were no significant movers in our pre-rankings from last weekend's fights, we're going to spend the bulk of this episode previewing this coming weekend's card. We're not going to touch the pre-rankings until next week. So let's dive into our first segment on the marquee. But first, if you are enjoying and new MMA show, please support us by liking and subscribing. Hit the like button. It's going to help us out so much. And click on the subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. Find us wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe there, of course. And find us on social media at @&new_MMA show in all of the social places. So guys, let us now go to On the Marquee. This week, the name on the marquee has got to be Anthony Lionheart Smith, who this past Saturday at UFC Fight Night, Smith versus Spann, defeated his opponent, Ryan Superman Spann, by submission via rear naked choke at 3 minutes and 47 seconds of round number 1. Mark, let me ask you first, what was your initial reaction to this great performance by Anthony the Lionheart Smith?
Y'all must have forgot.
That's right.
In the words of the great Ariel Helwani, that was certainly one of those. Anthony Smith put a stamp on the fact that he is a true contender at the top of this division. People kind of like to hate on Anthony Smith for whatever reason. He's kind of almost turned into this running joke online, if you notice, on social media, because of that issue he had with the guy who tried to rob his house that he had a hard time subduing. And now every fight, if you look at the comments under his things, everyone's like, this guy lost to a home intruder. This guy can't beat anybody. And he's become this meme in that way. So he catches a lot of hate. Not really clear as to why.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
But as he has made a point of himself, which Ryan Spann learned the hard way in this fight. The man deserves his respect. And he didn't feel like he was getting it from Spann. As you saw, they had a little dust up post-fight once Smith, closed the show. But yeah, that performance was straight violence. He mugged Ryan Spann. We thought it would end by sub, or I'm saying we. I can't remember if Omar said sub as well. But I thought it would end by sub. It did get down there. Obviously, Smith cracked him a few times. It was earlier than I thought. I thought he might have to, endure some things and get it into the later rounds where it was going to swing to him. But he did not. He just went out there, took over the fight, had Spann on wobbly legs a couple times. And once that thing was on the mat, there wasn't a lot Spann was going to be able to do to get out of there.
Omar, what was your reaction to Smith's win, but also to his post-fight outburst?
I mean, it's in the heat of the moment, right? I get where Anthony Smith is coming from. Like Mark said, he gets shit on a regular basis now for whatever reason. I mean, they're making fun of the guy for basically losing to the top tier of the division. Seems odd. I will say I have also questioned whether what I should be expecting from Anthony Smith at this point, because that's really been my question. Is the consistency is where I see it lacks a bit. He's talented. We all know he's talented. We all know he knows how to fight and what he's doing in there. But I just wonder at what point am I supposed to be believing that he's going to be champ? That's where I struggle. Ryan Spann, I had been kind of high on for a little bit. I enjoyed watching Ryan Spann fight. That was probably the sloppiest performance I've ever seen from him. I don't know if that was because he got rocked early and just never really recovered. Not really sure, but it wasn't the greatest performance I've ever seen from Ryan Spann by a long shot. So while it was one of Anthony Smith's better performances, it was definitely one of Spann's worst. Great fight though, and Anthony Smith did exactly what he needed to do and told Ryan Spann exactly what he needed to hear, as far as I'm concerned.
I didn't know that there was some huge beef going into this fight.
It wasn't really
huge beef.
Yeah, it was just Ryan Spann was basically like, you know how Bones doesn't look at people in the face-offs, and people have talked about it before. I think the first person he ever looked dead in their eyes was DC. But Ryan Spann kind of does the same thing, and his attitude about fighting is, I don't care who's across the other side of the cage. I don't care what your credentials are. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care what you've done. I'm just here to fight, make money for my family, win, get better. That's his. And Anthony Smith took it like, you don't care what I did, bitch. Yeah, well, you don't care what I did in my career. I'm gonna take that as a disrespect. And then it just sort of, it got out of hand.
In Smith's defense, it was kind of weird the way Spann went about it. I don't remember the exact quotes because it was this was maybe a week and a half ago at this point, or when he made these comments, but he was very aggressively almost yelling about how nothing Smith did mattered to him and nothing that he's done impresses him and it's all irrelevant and he's going to walk through them and whatever. But I don't know how to describe it. You have to watch it. It was kind of like, dude, calm down. What are you yelling about? And I guess Smith was just kind of saying the same thing. He was like, A, I don't understand what this guy is doing all this yelling about. And B, I don't appreciate that he's saying nothing I've done is relevant. So he kind of got pissed off about it. And then it kind of went from there.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. It was a random one. And as you can see, after their 2 minutes of Smith yelling at him, they squashed it right in the octagon. So you could tell it wasn't any deep seated thing.
Yeah. So it was really just
It was. Do you remember when Masvidal had that issue with Cerrone real quick, where Cerrone basically said, "I don't really know who Masvidal is," and then Masvidal fucked him up and was like, Similar. "You know who I am now, right?"
Yes, literally just like that.
Just very similar in those moments. Check yourself because I wrecked your ass.
Right. Well, with this win, Anthony Lionheart Smith improves his professional record to 36 victories on top of 16 losses. So his last 3 losses have been against John Jones, Glover Teixeira, bad one, and Alexander Rakic. Other than those 3 guys who are all at the top of the division, Jones no longer there, obviously. But if he has wanted to stay at the top of the division, he has beat who he has needed to beat. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
I also think the way he wins too is still very impressive. He goes in there and he puts on a fight. He finishes fights.
For
He's
sure.
not a point fighter by any stretch of the imagination. He has his decisions. You know, he's been in a lot of tough fights, but he's not a guy that goes in there looking for a decision. He definitely goes in there looking to finish.
Mark, quickly, off of this win, who do you want to see Smith match up with next?
So I'll lead into it. I just want to say, piggybacking on that point, I do think the finishes are a big part of why Anthony Smith continues to feel as relevant as he does. He's 7-3 since moving up to light heavyweight. The 3 losses are the 3 you just mentioned. All 7 wins are finishes. And when you're finishing fights at that kind of a rate, you're going to continue to matter. And on top of that, I just want to say that I do respect Anthony Smith in that he took those 2 losses, drubbing from Glover and then the Rakic loss. And despite being, you know, whatever he was ranked at the time, 5, 6, and having the name and having fought for the title, he didn't do what a lot of these guys would do, where they refuse to fight like the level down, unproven guy. And they're like, you know, I am who I am. I shouldn't be doing that. This man took Devin Clark, submitted him in the first round, took Jimmy Crute, TKO'd him in the first round, took Ryan Spann, submitted him in the first round. Like he said, I get it. I lost some fights. Give me these young guns. I'm going to turn them back and show that I'm still at this level. And I respect that. And to answer your question, I think that he has now done just that, where it's like, okay, no more guys like that. He's earned the right for another one of these big ones. Mm-hmm. And I think the call out that he made of Alexander Rakic is perfect. Simply because, and I know Rakic did beat him. It was a close fight, but Rakic won it. So I would get it if Rakic didn't want it, but it kind of makes sense for Rakic because he's stuck right now because we are still waiting on Jan to fight Glover. And then he is still behind Yuri Prohaska. So he doesn't really have anywhere to go. So why not fight Anthony Smith again? And if you can beat him now when he's coming off 3 straight finishes, you look even better and you position yourself for the title again. So I'm not surprised Rakic said yes. And I think they made the UFC's job easy because I actually think it's the perfect matchup right now.
Omar, quickly, who do you think you want to see Anthony Smith lined up with next at light heavy?
I definitely think he needs to fight above him. Definitely to Mark's credit. I don't think him fighting any guys lower at this point really makes a whole hell of a lot of sense. The Rakic loss would be definitely one to get back. It's just it's kind of tight at light heavy at this point, especially with Blachowicz not having fought yet at this point. I guess I'd probably go with Rakic at this point.
Nice. All right, gentlemen. Well, the other fight we're going to recap now is over on the Bellator side of the MMA world. So this past weekend as well, let me just pulling up his notes. At Bellator 266, Phil Davis defeated Yoel Romero, the Soldier of God, via split decision, earning a 30-27 and a 30-26. Romero getting a 29-28 on one of the other judges' scorecards. Real quick note, Romero, who's 44 years old, was slated to debut for the promotion in the first round of their light heavyweight tournament against Anthony Johnson back in May, but he was forced to withdraw due to a medical issue concerning his eye. So Phil Davis gets the nod over Yoel. Omar, let me start with you. What did you make of the fight?
We've seen Yoel less active, I guess. He won a round, you know. I don't know that Phil Davis, first of all, is not really even one of my favorite fighters to watch. He's very point fighty. He does
one of the worst.
Yeah, he does what the judges need him to do in order to win. It's very rare for me to see like his mind frame be, I'm going to finish this guy. Yes. Granted, Yoel is not the guy to probably have that mind frame all the time for, but he doesn't have that mind frame ever. And I will say the impressive part was actually his ability to take Yoel down and hold him down. I didn't actually think that he'd be able to do that considering Yoel's credentials. Possible that it had to do with the weight difference now that Yoel is going up. The size difference I thought was pretty apparent when it came to Phil Davis's actual frame as opposed to Yoel's frame. But honestly, overall, not the greatest fight. And I think it's hilarious that Yoel Romero thought that shit was supposed to be 5 rounds.
Is there anything more Yoel Romero than thinking that fight was 5 rounds? You can't write these things.
But like, you didn't have a coach in there at one point telling you, like, Papa, you got 4 rounds left. Like, let's go. Like, nothing. It's just weird to me. It's just a very, very odd thing.
Yeah.
Mark, let me throw it over to you. What did you make of Yoel's Bellator debut?
So I want to know how legitimate that is. Him actually thinking the fight was supposed to be 5 rounds and not just 3, because I thought he fought well in round 1. And overall, I didn't think he was as maddening as he has been in the past. I certainly scored round 1 for him. First of all, quick sidebar. I forgot it was even a split decision until you just said that when you presented it. What a ridiculous split decision. I would love to know how someone scored that fight for Yoel. Round 1 was the only round you could even remotely consider giving him. But he did win round 1 on my card. I thought he fought well. And then round 2, you could tell Davis kind of made some adjustments and it started to turn a little bit. And then Yoel came out really not doing much at all in round 3. And then obviously once the wrestling started happening, Davis took the advantage. But Yoel was really fighting. He started to kind of dial it back from what he started with. And it makes me wonder, like, man, did he really think it was 5? And maybe he was like, all right, I got to kind of take this round off a little bit, conserve my energy. So, like, I would love to know how valid that is. Because, I would be more annoyed with Yoel if he did that in a 3-round fight. But if he thought it was 5, then I'm like, I get maybe what he was trying to do there. But regardless, he lost the fight. And to me, it was more about the performance of Phil Davis. He is an egregious point fighter. It does make him kind of hard to root for. But here, like Omar said, it's kind of what he had to do. Like, he wasn't going to submit or knock out Yoel Romero. It just wasn't going to happen. Right. So it's kind of what he had to do. And he didn't just stay away and point fight. He mixed in this wrestling that no one expected to see him, maybe like I said in the preview last week, maybe he'll take down Yoel once. He took Yoel down 5 times and he was for the most part able to keep him there. He landed some good shots on the ground. I mean, it shows you size does matter, I guess, because as Omar said, Phil was certainly the bigger man and he has a huge frame anyway.
He's a big guy.
Yeah, it really came into play. I mean, his wrestling, he's got to feel great about his wrestling coming out of that fight that he just did that to Yoel Romero. So yeah, he did what he had to do. The round 3, I guess it wasn't a 10-8 because it wasn't enough damage necessarily, but it could have been a 10-8. He was dominating round 3. So that was a good win for Phil Davis. You can't take anything away from him.
The wrestling technique was A+. Like, you can't say anything about Phil Davis's wrestling at that point because it really was very effective. Not exciting necessarily when we're talking about a mixed martial arts fight, but super effective against a guy that I didn't really think he'd be able to do that to.
You could almost see it on Yoel's face that Phil Davis would lock his arms behind him. And it would almost look like Yoel was so calm, knowing that he wasn't going anywhere, and then be like, shit, like, I'm down again. Like, how does this keep happening? Yeah. Like, you can almost see it on him.
Yeah.
To what degree do you guys think, I mean, you were saying that the size was definitely a factor, that, standing toe to toe, you actually could see that Phil Davis is actually, his frame, he's a big guy compared to a guy like Yoel. Is Yoel only 5'10"? I always think of Yoel as like a 6-footer, but is he only?
So
like
he
5'10"?
was always listed at, I actually heard someone talking about this. He was always listed at 6 foot. And then recently, maybe UFC listed him at 6 and Bellator said he was 5'10". So I'm not sure what the correct height is, but yes, he is suddenly being listed at 5'10".
Right. Well, instead of just being the size, to what extent do we finally think that age, father time, is catching up to Yoel Romero? He's 44 years old.
He looked quick as hell still.
I honestly, I think it's the weight. I think if you look at him, that's the first time ever, and I mean literally ever, that he hasn't been shredded to fuck.
Yeah.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
And I noticed it right away. And let's be clear, he's not fat, right? Like, it's not like I'm saying he looks bad or anything like that, but you could see the extra weight on him, and it didn't look like it was like extra good weight, right? Like, it wasn't like he was muscular or more. He just looked bigger, just looked like he hadn't cut weight.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got to wonder if that played in it. One, his cardio, because it's not like he always had like the most premium cardio to begin with. And you also have to wonder if it played into the fact that he's just a smaller guy now in a bigger division.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
To me, he's a middleweight. And maybe you're going to ask us this question, Mike, but I'll just jump into answering it right now. If I'm Bellator and I just made this investment in Yoel Romero and then he goes out and loses that fight like that, the way I try to save that investment right now is I sit down with him if I'm Scott Coker and I say, Yoel, we think you're a middleweight. How do you feel about middleweight? Because if you can get him to fight at middleweight, you can put him right into a fight with, say, John Salter, who just lost to Musashi, or like Costello Van Steenis, someone who's at the top there. And all that has to happen is Yoel beats that one guy, which he should.
Yeah.
And then you say, boom, we have Gegard Mousasi versus Yoel Romero. And it's back to being a big deal. And you can say, yeah, he lost to Phil Davis, but he shouldn't have been a light heavyweight anyway. And you're back with a moneymaker fight. So if I'm Bellator, I feel like that's where I would go.
That's a great idea, Mark.
Yeah.
I should hire you.
Thanks.
Well, with that being said, that concludes our recapping portion of this week's episode. Thank you so much. And congrats to Anthony Lionheart-Smith. Enjoy your week, Anthony, on the marquee. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let us dive inside the MMA sphere with Omar Artola. Once again, like, subscribe, find us on Instagram at and new_MMA show, all the places. Find us on whatever podcast app you are using. Thank you very much. Omar, inside the MMA sphere, what's going on this week, my man?
Welcome, everyone.
The creepy voice returns
To Inside the MMA Sphere. So this week we got just a couple of fun stories for you guys, and then some fight announcements, and then we're gonna get into the big bad card from this weekend. So right off the top, our homeboy McGregor, who gave him a baseball?
Oh man,
who decided that was gonna be the thing to do with McGregor? No one played catch with this man before they went over there. You just set him up for failure just from the jump.
That's what I always think about all of these, man. Like, they don't let these guys hop into the bullpen or something, or underneath before the game and say, yeah, go ahead, throw 20 pitches, get a feel. Like, is that not a thing that happens? Well, I understand if you don't play baseball, but you could figure out, like, all right, I got to throw it really slow so it stays straight. Like, they don't let these guys get any kind of feel in there.
He definitely jumped the gun, man.
He's got a manager too. Like, your manager didn't pop out a glove. Like, let me just double check real quick before I put you on national TV.
I think trying to throw, I feel like the average person doesn't appreciate just how far.
Oh, it's far. Yeah.
An MLB pitcher's mound is from home plate. What is it? 60 feet and 6 inches or something?
Yeah.
First of all,
he tried to throw it so hard.
That's why I think that's why, because he was like, geez, that's kind of far. Let me just try to beam this thing over there.
So first of all, there is a difference between throwing it hard and throwing it accurately. The man almost hit somebody in the stands with the ball. If you're not aware how freaking ridiculous that is, there is nets behind home plate to stop random balls from flying. He bypassed all of those nets and basically almost hit somebody in the bleach or in the stands behind the dugout. That's the most outrageous thing I've ever heard in my life.
That being said,
I didn't see. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I didn't see it, but I heard he also sang and was maybe even worse at that.
No, the singing was obviously not great, but he's not a singer. But it wasn't as bad as when Jeff Gordon did it famously like 20 years ago.
As who?
Jeff Gordon, the race car guy.
I can't remember his. I always think of 50 Cent as being the worst first pitch.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Oh my God, his is so bad.
The singing was not good. He kind of changed. He didn't just change key. He changed like the entire melody of the song. Yeah. But he's Conor McGregor. Who cares, man? He's from Ireland. Like, who cares? Yeah. But in terms of like this as like a Conor headline, this is quite tepid compared to many Conor.
Oh, great. And
he's punching and
he's rolling with it. He's making posts calling it the most powerful first pitch ever.
Yeah. I mean, I can only like hate on the guy so much. I mean, the guy is absolutely winning at life, like more than any human on the face of the planet.
Dude, he's embracing this cane too. He might keep that cane forever. He likes it. He has another accessory now.
I'm not even really mad at it. It's kind of pimp. I kind of like it.
It is. Yeah, it fits his whole style.
Yeah, man. All right, man. What else you got?
All right. Next on the list, Canelo is fighting a gentleman named Caleb Plant.
Caleb Plant.
And as Dana liked to call them, shit showtime.
Yeah.
Shit showtime.
Had
That's
them
funny.
face off.
Yeah.
And if you've watched UFC long enough, or
Yeah, man.
most combat events, when people do stare downs, when fighters stare down, usually there's somebody there to quell any kind of momentary agitation that these fighters may experience while staring deep into each other's eyes, because that shit is actually that'll bring out some anxiety in you whether you want it to or not.
For sure.
Regardless, you have somebody there for safety.
Yeah.
Showtime didn't have nobody nowhere for nothing.
Dude, I feel like you see this a lot in boxing. Like they just leave the two guys up there and there's just like some old men watching from like 15 feet away.
Well, so apparently no one is there. Caleb and Canelo are right in each other's faces. Canelo is significantly shorter than Caleb Plant. Canelo is literally like looking up at this man.
Canelo's he's a pretty thick guy.
But you kind of got to love the fact that this man was like I'm not going nowhere. This is what it is. You could be tall, I'm still gonna knock you out. And you know, they're jawing back and forth, doing whatever. I don't know what Caleb Plant said to him, or if he breathed on him hard.
Something about his mother, apparently.
No, that's not what he said.
Well,
that's what Canelo said.
That's what Canelo said. Caleb Plant said that in their back and forth shit talking to each other, he called him like a motherfucker or something like that. And Canelo immediately
that's
was like,
what I was just gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Canelo immediately was like, "Hey man, don't talk about my mom. I'm gonna fuck you up, man." And then he pushed him. And he's like, "What do you?" And Plant was like, "What are you talking about? Don't talk about your mom. I just called you motherfucker."
But
so that's what happens.
Lost, like, yeah.
You think he was lost in translation? I don't know. Canelo, I think he speaks good enough English.
Yeah, but
I don't know if he really does.
Yeah.
That boy speaks.
Isn't he like known to be super sensitive about like anyone saying stuff about his mom or something? Hasn't this come up in the past? I feel like.
I mean, sure.
Really?
Sure.
Yeah, but it's not like Caleb Plant was like, after I beat you, I'm gonna
be
with your mom.
I know.
And he was like, "Don't talk about my mom. Don't bring my mom into it." He was just like,
"I'm gonna." About the main thing here, which was the elite head movement from Canelo. I mean, my goodness.
So they say whatever they say to each other. Caleb says whatever he says, and Canelo just pushes him. Caleb's like taking it back for a minute, walks up to him all ginger and shit, and then throws a jab straight at his face.
Was it? I thought it was a slap.
It was a slap.
Yeah, it was a jab slap. Whatever it was.
It was a slap. And I have seen an image that shows it actually did land on his face.
Oh, really?
It landed, but it grazed off of him.
Because he was already moving back.
Yeah, dude. And Canelo just
in real time
back
like elite.
And then he popped him with popped him with a 2-3.
Oh my God.
Whack. It was the most beautiful fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
Cut his face. Like, he's standing there bleeding.
Oh, and so supposedly, and I don't know if they're trying to save face or not, because I definitely would at that point. It was the glasses that ended up cutting him.
Oh, man.
Well, of course. I mean, he's wearing glasses. He gets punched in the face, of course.
But Canelo, to be honest, that's the whole fight right there. That's going to be the whole fight.
That's what's going to be.
The whole thing is going to be him slipping and cracking that boy across 6 rounds at most.
I mean, as much as like Mayweather is known as like the most defensive minded genius boxer ever, man, Canelo has some defensive highlights that are just unbelievable to watch. Unreal head movement.
Canelo has the best head movement of any boxer I've seen in forever. Vasily Lomachenko has the best overall movement of a boxer I've seen ever. Floyd Mayweather has the best defensive shell of any boxer I've ever seen ever. But Floyd Mayweather's defensive shell doesn't allow for the type of offense that other fighters have, like Canelo, for example. Anyway, got off topic there a little bit. So
as long as the fight's not canceled, Canelo's probably the heavy favorite.
That's what I was worried about.
And probably the odds probably went even further up after this after that slip and rip on the podium.
Doesn't sound like anything has come of it. I was waiting for cancellation because of the cut or something like that, but it seems like it's all good for now.
Cool.
So Canelo 1, Caleb Plant 0 is how we're going into that fight. So, and last but not least, I wanted to save the best for last. Well, the most respectful for last.
Yeah, man.
At literally the moment we jumped off of our recordings last week, we learned that Carlos Condit has officially retired from MMA. He has hung up his gloves. He's moving on.
I had some whiskey right now. I'd pour it out.
Yeah.
I will say this one made me pretty sad. Carlos apparently, and I found this out watching the highlight reel that the UFC was apparently nice enough to make for his exit. I think he debuted in the WEC in 2009, and that was when I started watching MMA. So it seems like I started watching MMA since Carlos Condit has been professionally fighting or fighting on a big stage at the very least.
Yeah, man.
And it was just a moment where I was like, this is how long I've really been watching, and to watch his career, his growth. And to be honest, for me, one of the best moments of his career, and there are a lot, was the moment with GSP where he hit. I mean, I had dreams about this combo. As obsessive as that sounds, it was true. He threw a 1-2, hit the duck under, and while GSP was coming back to reset back into his fighting stance, before he even got down on his fighting stance, there was a foot right in GSP's face, and it was one of the greatest strikes to this day I've ever seen. Timing was perfect, technique was perfect. It was just,
I jumped out of my chair for sure.
Yeah, it was a beautiful moment. Carlos Condit's had many moments like that over his career.
He sure has.
I definitely want to say thank you to Carlos Condit for what he's given to MMA, because he's given a whole hell of a lot.
He has. Mark, do you have anything to say about the retirement of the Natural Born Killer?
So I love Carlos Condit. I always have. Mike, I think you might love him even more than me, so I'm sure you'll have something to say as well.
Yeah.
But I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the violence that this man brought to the cage.
Always.
If you went into a cage with Carlos Condit, there was a period of time in his career where you pretty much were a lock to be leaving that cage via submission or being knocked out. Like, he finished everyone. He only had a 5-fight run in the WEC, but obviously he was the champion there before coming to the UFC. In that run, it was rear naked choke, armbar, guillotine, TKO. Comes to the UFC, loses his debut to Martin Kampmann in a fight that a lot of people scored for him that was a close fight. Wins a decision after that, and then proceeds to beat Rory McDonald by TKO, to knock out Dan Hardy, to beat Dong Hyun Kim by TKO, to win the interim title from Nick Diaz. And then we get to the exact moment Omar just referenced, where he had this incredible run of violence and came this close to the top of the mountain, head kicking GSP. We will forever have the image of the UFC belt around Condit's waist from when he won the interim belt, which feels right to see him with a belt around his waist.
100%.
It would have been nice if he could have actually got to the tippy top of that mountain. But either way, that man was pure violence. And even after that, plenty more great fights. After the GSP one, obviously the career started to go down. And then even, we thought he was gone a couple years ago, and he comes back and wins a couple more just for the hell of it before he actually retires. So, that guy will be a legend forever. Can finish a fight from anywhere, and he's the man.
Yeah, he is the man. I mean, if I had to choose favorite fighter of all time, he is definitely way up there for me. Maybe number one, definitely top 3 for me.
Wow.
We'll have another conversation. We have to do an episode one day of like a favorite this or that.
Yeah,
for me, Carlos, the Natural Born Killer Condit is he was, for years, he was my guy. Like,
great nickname too.
Oh yeah, great nickname. And you guys both said it so well. I mean, he's just given us, the MMA fans, so many iconic moments, which I feel a little bad. I feel like the newer MMA fan has seen him on the losing side of a lot of fights since like the mid-teens. But earlier than that, the knockout of Dan Hardy, the flying knee against Dong Hyun Kim, coming the closest almost anybody has ever come to taking the title off of GSP's waist with that head kick.
Sarah.
And then, of course, I mean, one of the greatest fights of all time against Robbie Lawler.
Oh, right. Yeah, dude.
That's also like way up there.
Yep.
I think Robbie's, the most famous fight against Robbie was with Rory.
Yeah,
sure.
Correct.
Because that had that iconic image of Rory's face before round 5.
Robbie's
even Rory, even Lawler's face.
But that fight makes a lot of people forget about Robbie's fight with Condit.
Yeah,
and that was also an incredible fight.
It doesn't get the credit it deserves.
And there's nothing more iconic than that image too, of both of them next to each other, almost arm in arm
on
next
the
to each other,
cage,
hanging over the cage.
Yes.
While
Yes.
I don't remember who was even the referee, but basically the referee like coming behind them being like, good fight.
Yep.
Like, good fight.
Yep.
That's a good question.
It was, I mean, that
one.
was a great moment. I mean, I feel like as MMA fans coming from having watched for so long at this point, we've really been privileged to watch some of the most legendary fights in the last 10 years.
Yeah, man.
And I feel you, Mike, with some newer age fans that I know. Like, it's hard. Like, I'm like, no, but you don't understand. Like, you don't understand who this man is. Like, and you can't get it across unless you were in it when it was happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
And the ride with Condit was certainly a hell of a ride.
That being said, from the three of us to you, Carlos Condit, wherever you are out there, props to you, my friend, on a fantastic career, man. You will sorely be missed.
Yes.
That being said, gentlemen, let us move on now to
We've got some fight announcements real quick.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Before we hit into the here. So I'm going to go down the list real quick. There's not too many of them. I am going to start off with my boy, Adrian Yanez. Let's fucking go. Adrian Yanez versus Davey Grant. That's a solid pick.
Do you think Omar likes Adrian Yanez?
He's his Condit.
He's about to be, right? So that's happening UFC Fight Night on November 20th. I'm pretty excited for that. That's not too long.
That's a great one, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a perfect type of matchup. That's exactly what they should be doing with Yanez. Yeah.
Exactly. Next on the list, Matt Brown versus Brian Barberena. That is literal human carnage / violence inside of a cage.
It feels irresponsible.
If you don't watch that fight or don't like that fight, I don't know if MMA is for you.
Yep.
That's as good as it gets. That's going to be Fight Night, December 4th, and that is a welterweight fight. I feel like Matt Brown goes between sometimes. I'm not sure. But that is a welterweight fight.
No, yeah, he's always welterweight.
He's been welterweight? Okay.
Yeah.
Next on the list, Moreno versus Figueiredo 3 has been officially announced. That one is going to co-headline UFC 269 on December 11th. I'm ready for that fight. I'm a little disappointed that it wasn't Pantoja. Apparently, as the story goes, Pantoja was not going to be ready for the December card. And as a result, Figueiredo was able to step in. So that's just sort of the way the cards fell, unfortunately. Next on the list, along inside of that card with Figueiredo is going to be the return of Ryan Hall after his disastrous loss in his last fight. He's going to be fighting a gentleman named Derek Minner.
That's right. Yeah, Derek Minner.
He'll be doing it again December 11th on that card with him. Next on the list, Matt Sales versus Jordan Leavitt. Jordan Leavitt, for those of you who don't remember, I'm pretty sure was the dude who was I think he did the what was it, the Dirty Dancing after he beat this guy.
Oh yeah.
He like caught he like jumped on the dude and like started flying.
Yes.
I love dudes like that. I think dudes that make like alpha bros super pissed off and can still beat your ass are kind of fun. So I'm kind of excited to see him come back and he's actually really good. He's super talented if you put all the other bullshit aside. So I'm pretty excited to see him come back. He'll be there December 18th for a UFC Fight Night. And last, but of course not least, Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker 2 has been tentatively scheduled. Tentatively.
I thought you were going to tell me official. I was like, yes.
Tentative for UFC 270, January 2022.
Nice.
Obviously, COVID is New Zealand and Australia take COVID super seriously.
They sure do.
One could argue perhaps too seriously, but
a bit.
Safety first, seriously. And as a result, the travel and the bookings from fighters in that region have been super difficult. So that's why this fight is still tentative. We don't really know how all this is going to shake out as of right now, but hopefully that works out because that needs to happen ASAP.
Yeah, I need to get to that one. I'm itching to see that fight.
All right.
Thank you for joining me into the MMA-Sphere.
All right. Well, let us now jump into the meat of this episode, and we are previewing this coming weekend's UFC 266. This time, gentlemen, let's start from the prelims, some fights that we want to talk about on the prelims, and work our way up the card, up to the main event. So let's start first with Shamil, pardon me if I'm butchering this name. Checks notes. Abdurakhimov. Mark?
Yeah. Abdurakhimov.
Abdurakhimov is
I just
right.
want to say it's always a little embarrassing that I'm the freaking ring announcer and Mark is always better on names. Yeah. Abdurakhimov is taking on Chris Daukaus in the heavyweight division. So, Mark, let me start with you. What do you think? Chris Daukaus, man, he's doing some work in the heavyweight division right now. He's 11-3 overall as a pro, 10 wins by knockout. He's riding a 4-fight win streak, all by KO coming into this fight. What do you think? What do you like our American boy Daukaus' chances?
Yeah, man. I mean, the guy's undefeated in the UFC so far. Absolutely put it on Alexei Oleinik in his last fight. And, this is going to kind of be the one. If he wins this fight, he's fighting one of the giant names at heavyweight probably after this one.
Yeah.
Shamil is no joke. He's one of those guys who kind of goes under the radar, but he's the type of guy that can fight anyone tough because he's good everywhere.
And he's Russian.
So he can kind of take the fight where he needs to give himself an advantage. I have him. I'm going to try to give you guys some numbers as we go through these fights in terms of both the betting odds and my own rankings, just to give you a picture of how stacked this card is.
Like it.
So we're 8 fights down the card right now, and in my rankings, Shamil is the number 7 heavyweight in the world, and Daukaus is number 11 in the world. So it's a big fight. Shamil has turned back a few names. He beat Marcin Tybura. He beat Orlovsky, which is a little less now. He beat Walt Harris. The guy's legit. So this is a perfect test for Daukaus right now. Shamil is 40 and coming off a 2-year layoff, which I don't love for a 40-year-old. Whereas Daukaus has obviously been active and he is in a groove right now. He's got the momentum behind him. So despite the fact that Abdurakhimov is good everywhere, I'm going to side with Daukaus here. He is a black belt on the ground. So I do feel like if Shamil opts to go with the wrestling, that he'll be safe enough down there. And on the feet, Daukaus is just the faster, slicker boxer. His hands have looked really crisp, really dangerous. So I think he does get past this test. I'm going to say that he does get the finish. We'll go with I'll say second round TKO for Daukaus.
Okay, Omar, what do you think? Shamil and Daukaus.
I'm pretty sure that Daukaus has a bit more tools in the shed than Abdurakhimov. I will say Abdurakhimov obviously has very strong wrestling. I don't think it'll make a difference in this fight personally. I think we've seen that guys with a lot of power and who are able to land on Abdurakhimov can come away with a victory, even if they don't have necessarily the same wrestling credentials that he does. With that being said, Chris Daukaus is no joke on the ground or with his takedown defense. So there is going to be some adversity for Abdurakhimov when it comes to that side of things. Striking, I think they're on a completely different level between the two. Chris Daukaus obviously having the advantage. His hands are crazy fast. He's very, very crisp. He will knock somebody out. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a first-round knockout for Chris Daukaus.
I sure hope so. I'll be rooting for Daukaus, the Philly native. He's our American boy. And, fighting a 40-year-old heavyweight, Daukaus being 31, you're really looking for Daukaus to get over on Shamil on this one and move up the rankings at heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, let's move on to our next bout of the evening. Dan the Hangman Hooker comes back. He's going to make it, guys. He's going to make it out of New Zealand. Dan the Hangman Hooker, the 31-year-old Kiwi, is taking on Nasrat. I can't.
Haqparast.
Right? I practiced that one.
I think that's it.
Yeah, Haqparast. I think so. Haqparast, German-born of Afghan descent. Yes. This is a great fight at lightweight. Omar, let me start with you with this one. Hangman Hooker takes on Nasrat. What do you think?
I think this fight is pure violence. I think that Nasrat is very good everywhere. His hands are fantastic. His ability to mix up his game is also, I think, one of the biggest advantages that he has just in MMA right now. I think what separates a lot of the great fighters here, at least in this era, seem to be the ones who have the ability to be significant, making the fight where they need it to be. And Dan Hooker has never really been the type of person to do that, so to say. He's always just taking advantage of whatever was given to him, puts himself in a striking advantage, especially because he's generally the taller guy. But Nasrat is the kind of guy, just very similar to Kelvin Gastelum, in the sense that he comes forward, he puts the pressure on, he tries to make the fight or forces the fight to go where he needs it to go. With that being said, Dan Hooker is not somebody that is just going to allow him to do that. So this will be a very, very violent fight. I expect a lot of counters. I expect a lot of motion. I expect a lot of volume, frankly, in this fight. Very excited.
Mark, piggybacking off what Omar just said, this certainly is going to be violence. We have Nasrat coming in 13-3 overall as a pro with 9 wins by way of knockout. He is riding a 2-fight win streak. Dan Hooker, also an elite, excellent kickboxer. He's coming in with a 2-fight losing streak. So what do you make of this matchup at lightweight?
So it's a little bit random to me. I get it that I guess they were kind of having a hard time finding the right opponent for Hooker. A lot of guys were booked and they were trying to get him a fight. The reason I say it's a little random is not because I think it's not a close matchup. I do think it is, and the betting odds say the same. Hooker's -150 favorite right now. Haqparast is +125, so it's pretty tight. But just in terms of what Haqparast has proven in the UFC, I didn't feel like he had really earned this level of fighter yet. You know, his wins in the UFC are Mark Jacasey, Tibalt Guti, Joaquim Silva, Alex Munoz, Rafa Garcia. None of those are like hang your hat on type win to say that you are suddenly vaulting to fighting a ranked fighter. So I was a little surprised by that, but you know, we see the potential is there. As Omar alluded to, he's good everywhere. Dangerous everywhere, can take the fight where he needs to take it. So I'm okay with him getting this chance. I was just a little surprised that he got it already. To back that up in my rankings, I have Dan Hooker as the number 7 lightweight in the world, and I have Haqparast as the number 40. So I hadn't think he quite worked his way up this ladder yet. But with that said, it's a cool fight. What's crazy, I don't know if you guys even heard this, or I think maybe we did talk about this, is that Hooker finally figured out his visa situation apparently. And now Haqparast is having a visa situation because he went back to Germany because his mother died, unfortunately. Both these guys are just dealing with so much shit coming into this fight. It's brutal. But and now he was stuck in Germany last I heard this morning, and he was trying to do the same thing, rallying MMA Twitter like Hooker did to get out of New Zealand. And I'm sure maybe there was some developments to that. I was so swamped today I didn't even look. I don't know if you guys know. But they're both like trying to scramble and get into the US at this point. So hopefully this thing happens. But if it does, it is definitely an interesting clash. They're both really well-rounded everywhere. Hooker has shown that he's dangerous if it goes to the ground, even his defensive jiu-jitsu. I do think on the feet that Hooker is the more dynamic fighter in terms of different strikes that can hurt you. You know, they may be equally well-rounded, but Hooker, to me, is just more dangerous. He's more of a threat to hurt his opponent. So I tend to lean toward him. I'm a little concerned about what we've seen from Hooker lately. I know he was like supposedly in really bad shape after that Poirier War, which is one of the greatest fights I've ever seen in my life. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it.
Great fight, man.
But supposedly he was like in kind of awful shape, like almost some. I heard someone say something about a near death situation. I'm not even sure what that story is. But to hear that and to see him come in and get smoked the way he did against Chandler in a way that kind of surprised us all, I'm kind of like, shit, I hope he's not, you know, kind of past the point of wear and tear here and that his chin is still okay. But for the sake of picking the fight, I'm going to have to assume that we're getting, you know, the real Dan Hooker that we know in there. And I think it will come down to the fact that he just has more ways to hurt Haqparast. So I'll say he wins a clear but competitive decision.
Omar, you got a pick for us?
I think I'm also going to go with Dan Hooker. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up as a decision.
Okay. Decision for Hangman?
For Hangman. Mm-hmm.
Dan Hooker, great nickname, the Hangman. Nasrat, kind of a weird nickname. His nickname is Nasrat, I'm not Kelvin Gastelum. Seriously, those guys are each other's doppelganger.
Yes, they are. Super weird.
All right. And now rounding out the prelims, headlining the prelims, I should say, is a great fight at bantamweight. Man, this is such a stacked card. I can't, like every one of these fights could easily like headline a fight night.
100%.
And not easily, but this one definitely. We have Marlon Moraes versus Merab Dvalishvili. How'd I do, Mark?
Very good.
Thank you. Happening at bantamweight. This is another fight that is going to be pure violence. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, we have Moraes, who is definitely a knockout threat pretty much anywhere in the fight. And then we have Merab, who, even though he's kind of a decision machine, he's 13-4 with 10 wins by decision. He is riding a 6-fight win streak, and he's just a crazy man. So, Mark, let me start with you this time. Moraes versus Dvalishvili. What do you think?
Yeah, he dives headfirst into frozen lakes. He's a psychopath.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I hope that this fight is going to be madness. It feels like it certainly may be. Real quick, I have Marlon as my number 7 bantamweight. I have Merab, I believe, a little lower than the UFC does. I forget where they have him. I have Merab as my number 15 bantamweight. But he has absolutely earned this shot. Happy that he's getting an opponent of the caliber of Moraes.
Totally.
Betting wise, Merab is actually a significant favorite. He's minus 260 and Marlon is plus 200. So maybe a little surprising there. There's a lot of momentum on the side of Merab right now. He kind of feels like a runaway train at this point. And there's not a ton on the side of Moraes.
Right.
It's possible that this Moraes slide is maybe a little bit of a mirage. You know, it's Font, Sandhagen, Cejudo. Like these guys are beasts. So, you know, the demise of Moraes might be a little exaggerated. He still has great takedown D, which should come to bear in this fight. He's still crazy dynamic on his feet and so powerful for a bantamweight, which again could come to bear in this fight. It's not like Merab doesn't get hit, so it's certainly something to consider. But Moraes' cardio is what concerns me here. He is, in the first round, it's hard to find a fighter more dangerous than Marlon Moraes. You get out of the first round, things tend to start to change.
Yeah, man.
And he's fighting a guy who never, ever, ever, ever stops coming. I mean, he will take you down. You get up, he'll take you down again. You get up, he'll take you down again. He'll take you down 30 times if he has to. He doesn't know what it means to stop. He's one of the most relentless fighters I've ever seen. So it's going to be takedown attempt after takedown attempt. It's hard to scare Merab off of you. I know, like I said, there's a lot of power coming back at Merab, so it's possible that he eats a couple things that make him think, you know, I got to be careful here. But he just seems like one of those guys who doesn't give a shit and is just going to be relentless the whole fight. So while I do think it's possible that a round one fresh Marlon could catch Merab with something big, even catch him in a guillotine as Merab tries to wrestle, I just think that the pace and the relentlessness is going to be too much and will eventually overcome Marlon. And even if Merab does lose round one, I think he'll win the next two. And I'll say he gets the decision victory.
So, Omar, let's talk technique a little bit from the point of view of Moraes. You know, he is, as Mark said, you know, he has been on the losing side of quite a few fights as of late. So he's 23-8 overall, which is still a damn impressive record as a pro, but he's lost 3 of his last 4. He's dropped 2 straight now, both getting finished, most recently getting TKO'd by Rob Font in December of 2020. His last victory came against Jose Aldo by split decision in December of 2019.
Which was contentious anyway.
And he's going up a guy who just wins fights. He just wins. A guy against Merab who's not going to stop, who is one of the sports cardio kings. So what do you think is the path to victory if you're Marlon Moraes?
Well, you kind of have to approach him like a Georgian Clay Guida is pretty much who Merab is. I mean, that's...
Put a wig on him.
Yeah.
It's virtually identical.
So
virtually
I think
identical.
I think Marlon Moraes, I think to Mark's credit, Marlon Moraes is not going to be able to play the long game with this one, at least not without losing the rounds to go along with it. Marlon Moraes' best chance is probably to starch him in the first round or point fight him.
Right.
Somehow point fighting him would basically mean just nullifying a lot of his actions. Merab has a lot of movement, a lot of jumping and keeping keeping a rhythm with his movement, whether that's to work his counters in, work his takedowns in. His movement is always masking what he's doing next. Marlon needs to interrupt that rhythm. He needs to do that, whether that's with leg kicks, whether that's with jabs, whether that's with teep kicks, whatever the case is. Marlon is going to need to find a way to nullify Merab's movement. If he comes at Merab like a straight fight, like a brawl, I don't, unless short, like Mark said, short of Marlon catching him with something, which is totally possible, I don't see that necessarily being a real game plan. That's sort of like a coin flip. So I really think he needs to work on nullifying the movement from Merab as much as humanly possible, even if that means taking him down.
You think you have a result that you have in your vision?
It's so hard for me to pick against Marlon because of how talented he is and how gorgeous his striking, frankly, is.
Yeah.
Merab doesn't have that kind of striking. Merab has that kind of relentlessness. And, Merab winning this fight is either going to be by submission because he caught him in something, or by decision because he out-hustled him. I don't know if I'm ready to bank on that just yet. I think I'm still going to stick with Marlon Moraes. I think I'm going to go with a KO or TKO.
Round one?
I think I'm actually going to do round two.
I respect that. It's going to be hard for me. I like Merab also, but it's going to be hard for me if Marlon loses this fight because I still think, as you're saying, that he's so good. Yeah. Like I don't want him to be on this slide.
Yeah.
So Mark, I should mention that Marlon is number 6 on the UFC's rankings, and Merab is actually number 11.
Yeah, I thought they had him higher already.
Yeah, so they have him a bit higher than you do. Still a fantastic fight.
Great fight.
Mike, what do you think?
I think it's an easy decision win for Merab.
Wow.
I mean, not easy, but like he's going to just buzzsaw his way to
like 30-27 easy.
Either 30-27, maybe Moraes wins the first round. But it's
I mean, we're in similar boats. Yeah.
Send this video to Marlon. Send it to his Instagram.
Dude, Marlon's great, man, but Merab is just a unique formula to try to solve.
Yeah, he's a real beast. That cardio is something else, and a lot of that has to be mental. That can't just be his body. That's a mental advantage he has.
You know why Merab's going to win? It's because he trains with Ray Longo over Sarah Longo in Long Island.
It's tough that bantamweight is such a murderer's row that Moraes has lost a few fights, and it's like, all right, we're gonna move you down the ladder. You get Merab. Like, fucking sucks.
No, but in all seriousness, man, Sarah Longo, man, that's a beast of a gym right now. They have a ton of killers.
I love. Honestly, though, where they really excel is the ground game, because Matt Serra's ground game is not really respected or talked about enough, as far as I'm concerned. Everybody talks about the John Danahers and some of the other guys that are in the games. Name a Gracie, and they'll tell you that they're one of the best, and the Machados, and lots of names are thrown out there. But the reality is Matt Serra, especially since having been out of competition MMA, has really trained some of the highest level grapplers to come into MMA. I don't really think he gets the credit he deserves in that specific respect.
I love his style of jiu-jitsu too. Like, he kind of has his own unique style, and I love it.
Yep.
Well, with that being said, gentlemen, let us exit the prelims and step into the main card of UFC 266. The main card starts out with a fight of consequence in the women's flyweight division. Jessica Andrade takes on Cynthia Calvillo. So let me just cue this up real quick. Andrade, the 29-year-old, she's Brazilian. She's 5'2". She's a fire hydrant. In fact, I think her Brazilian nickname means something like pile driver or something like that. 21-9 as a pro, but she's lost 3 of her last 4, with her most recent contest being a TKO loss against the flyweight queen, my girlfriend, Valentina Shevchenko. Calvillo, the 34-year-old Californian, she is 5'4", so she's going to have a height and reach advantage. She is 9-2 as a pro. 9-2, but she also is coming off of a loss against Caitlin blonde fighter, Chukagian. Mark.
Worst nickname of all time. And the worst fighter of all time and everything.
Oh, wow. Shots fired.
You know I don't like her.
It is a slightly better nickname than I'm not Kelvin Gastelum. So,
yeah.
Mark, let me send it to you first. What are your thoughts on this matchup at women's flyweight?
Yeah, so real quick, on Jessica Andrade is my number one women's flyweight, obviously contender-wise, not counting the champion, Valentina Shevchenko.
Right.
I have Cynthia Calvillo at number 4 right now. Betting odds-wise on this one, you're going to get Andrade as a pretty big favorite, minus 275, and you're getting plus 220 odds on Calvillo as an underdog. So to me, Cynthia has certainly earned this chance. I know she's coming off a loss, but I do still think her resume is worthy of a fight like this. But this is the end of the line for her. Andrade, I just think, is a tailor-made opponent to make Cynthia Calvillo look bad. I don't see what she can do to win this fight. I don't see where she can take it. I think Andrade has the advantage everywhere. And as much as I do think Calvillo is really tough and is kind of like a survivor in there, so maybe this does make it all the way to the final bell, I think it's going to be a beating one way or the other. I think it's a decision beating, or it's a TKO finish at a certain point in time, either by a big shot or just by accumulation, one or the other. But I think this is Jessica Andrade in the driver's seat the entire time and gets back on the winning side of things.
So, Omar, both fighters coming off losses. Andrade coming off of a bad TKO loss, but a title shot loss. Calvillo also coming off a loss against Chukagian. So who do you think is going to get back into the winner's circle?
I think between the two of them, very similar to like Mark said, Cynthia's game has generally been the, use her striking to take people down, work people on the ground. I don't think she's going to do that with Andrade. We've seen one real person be able to manhandle Andrade. Even Andrade didn't know she was going to get manhandled like that. It doesn't sound like Andrade had ever been manhandled until that day. And that was by the queen Shevchenko.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Cynthia's not Shevchenko. As much as I'm a fan of Cynthia, I love watching her fight. She is super gritty, super tough, always down to mix it up. I just, again, to Mark's credit, I don't think that there is a path of victory really for her here. I don't think her striking is good enough to be able to use that to a healthy advantage to keep Andrade off of her. I don't think her ground game is significantly better than Andrade. I don't think she'll be able to be on top to any extent. I honestly think Andrade is going to end up choking her out. I'm pretty sure this is going to end by submission, rear naked choke, either round 2 or round 3. I guess for the sake of picking, I will go round 3 because Cynthia is tough as shit. But I think when it comes down to it, it's just going to be an entire fight of her surviving and not fighting.
Yeah, I think that Calvillo is, while she's tough, she doesn't have the kind of power that's going to get enough respect from Andrade. And I do agree. I think Andrade is going to walk away the winner, probably by decision, but she might rough her up pretty good. All right, let's move on. All right, heading over to the heavyweights, boys. This is a big fight in the heavyweight division. We have Curtis Razor Blaydes taking on Jairzinho, Biggie Boy Rozenstruik. I love saying his name. So, Omar, let me start with you. So we got Blaydes. He's still, as a heavyweight, he's still only 30 in spite of all the big fights that he's already had at heavyweight. Coloradan, he's a giant. He's 6'4" at heavyweight, 14-3 as a pro with 10 knockouts. So after a 4-fight win streak, Derek Lewis snapped it with the knockout win over Blaydes in February earlier this year. Rozenstruik, also not super old for heavyweights, 33 from Suriname. 6'2", stands at 12-2 as a record, 11 knockouts. So almost all finishes. All UFC wins have come by knockout. And his most recent opponent was Augusto Sakai, who he beat by TKO in June of this year. So who do you see walking away with probably going to be a knockout victory in this fight?
So I would like to tell you that Jairzinho has this in the bag, right? Because we've seen Curtis Blaydes drop to guys with nuclear bombs in their hands, Ngannou twice, and Derek Lewis once. I have to believe, because Curtis Blaydes is not a bad fighter by any stretch of the imagination. He's a very talented fighter. He is an A+ grappler, wrestler specifically. The man's got hands. You know, he's not a boxer, but he's got hands.
Yeah.
I am hard pressed to think that Curtis Blaydes is going to duck under again and get uppercut for like the 5th time now. Like, if you haven't figured this out in your game, there's an immense problem going on, and it's much deeper than we know. You have to know where your vulnerabilities are with a guy like Jairzinho, because you fought a guy like Jairzinho like 4 times already.
Yeah.
So I want to believe that Curtis Blaydes has a proper game plan, will approach this fight the right way, and will come out victorious, because there's, on paper, no reason for me to believe that if Curtis Blaydes takes him down, that Jairzinho gets back up like ever.
So, for sure. For sure. Mark, who do you think is walking away with this victory? And if it ends by anything other than a KO or TKO, I would be very surprised.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see a decision for Blaydes. That him winning a decision wouldn't shock me. I'd be surprised if Rozenstruik was able to win a decision. But yeah, I think it's probably likely a finish as well. This is a must win for Curtis Blaydes, in my opinion. For any title dreams that Curtis Blaydes has, you can't keep losing to the same type of guy. You know, he's got to get past one of these one-hitter quitter, as Omar said, nuclear power type of heavyweights. He's got to do it. For reference, Quick Blaydes is my number 4 heavyweight. Rozenstruik is my number 6. So certainly a high-level heavyweight fight here. Curtis Blaydes is really, really good. Omar kind of said it here too. His striking is good. He gets caught, and people have almost now kind of, it feels, forgotten how good Curtis Blaydes is. His striking is good. It's legit. He can hang. He just has to be more conscious of staying safe in certain spots. And his wrestling is beyond elite. He is such a good wrestler. When he gets on top of you, you are dead. He's relentless. His ground and pound puts your face through the mat. Like, the guy has the skills to be a champion. He just has this hole in his game where he's susceptible to the one big shot. He leaves himself in space. He stays places too long. He'll shoot for the lazy takedown every now and then, which is kind of what happened against Derek Lewis. It wasn't even necessarily that he shot. It was more just like, I don't know. It's hard to even describe what he did in that moment, to be honest. It's like he asked to be uppercutted.
Just put his face down.
Yeah, he just put his face down, literally. But as much as Rozenstruik is cut from the same cloth as these guys who have beaten him, I don't think he's quite the same level of fighter as an Ngannou or a Lewis. I will say, so the reason I say that is because the Overeem win, he was losing that whole fight until the last minute. I wasn't super impressed with him beating Dos Santos. I will say that the knocking out Augusto Sakai in his last fight maybe has impressed me the most of anything Rozenstruik has done so far. But I still don't think he's quite on the level of those guys that have beat Blaydes. And the betting line seemed to agree. Curtis Blaydes is a minus 330 favorite, which is a little surprising the way he's lost to the same type of fighter. Rozenstruik is plus 260 underdog. But I think Curtis Blaydes, for the most part, is going to be able to do what he wants. And I honestly will be disappointed if he doesn't. I think he's that good. I think he has what it takes to be a champion. He's just got to clean up some things in his game, and I hope and think that he does it here. I think he'll dictate the fight. I think it'll be a lot of takedowns. I think Rozenstruik starts to look a little lost, and Blaydes pours it on. And I'll say he gets a 3rd-round TKO to make the exact type of statement that he needs to make here and remind people that he's a man to be feared in this division.
Omar, what do you think?
I think I'm also going to go with Curtis Blaydes by decision. I think it'll have shades of Miocic versus Ngannou, shades of it. But I think the game plan will be very similar, where you're basically just trying to stay out of those winging punches, take him down when you can, control him, basically nullify all of that power that he has, because it doesn't seem like Rozenstruik has a ton of tools, but the ones that he does are very effective. But if you're able to take them away, it should be a good night for Curtis Blaydes.
Yeah, I think it's a good matchup for Blaydes overall. In terms of, I mean, Rozenstruik is a guy with power, but it's not quite the power that Ngannou and Lewis have. I mean, Curtis Blaydes has only lost to 2 men as a professional.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
So I think he's a rightful favorite, and I think he's going to walk away with a victory. Probably going to be a TKO, probably via ground and pound.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. Keep going up this crazy stacked card. Here we go, baby. This is some crazy stuff, man. Whoever thought we were going to get this rematch, man? I feel like in one of our earlier episodes, we talked about if Nick would ever return, a good matchup would be Robbie.
No, I think we talked about it when it got announced. We ran through their whole first fight and everything. Yeah, it was after it got announced.
Okay.
You guys want to hear some spooky stuff?
Sure.
Oh, I heard this.
You heard this?
Yeah.
You know how many months there have been between the first fight and this fight?
How many?
209 months.
Stop.
Somebody
really discover this? Is this really true?
Yeah.
That's insane.
I mean,
MMA gods are perfect.
This is the kind of shit that I live for.
MMA gods.
Yeah.
When life throws you lemons, man, it's a beautiful thing.
All right, so let me cue this up. So we have the return of Nick Diaz taking on in a rematch. How many years since their first fight? Rematching Robbie Lawler. Supposed to be at welterweight, has now been moved up to middleweight.
I think it's 15 years. Is it 15 years? 2006?
Yeah. No, 2004, wasn't it?
Was it 2004? It's even longer, bro.
All right, so
I'm gonna look.
Now, while you're looking this up, let me just say that both of these guys are getting a little long in the tooth. Nick Diaz is 38. Robbie Lawler
2004, yeah.
Wow. Robbie Lawler is 39. So Nick Diaz, of course, famously from Stockton, California. The guy's been in the game for a long time. Okay. Fun fact, Nick Diaz's earliest UFC event, his UFC debut was at UFC 44 in 2003, which actually was a TKO victory over Jeremy Jackson, which it also was a rematch. Jeremy Jackson TKO'd Nick in some other promotion. So Nick Diaz obviously has been in a few different controversial situations in his career. He's had a lot of time off. Okay. His most recent fight was a unanimous decision loss to Anderson Silva that was overturned to a no contest because Anderson popped for, what did he pop for? Some kind of metabolite?
It was just dick pills.
Yeah, it was
okay.
It was, I think it was some kind of prohibited substance. We all really speculated that it was something to do with his leg because that was the first fight that he had come back to after his leg broke.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
and we don't talk about it because we love Anderson. So
I mean,
we also love Anderson.
Facts.
So that was Nick's most recent opponent, Anderson Silva, which was in 2015.
Yeah.
His most recent win came against BJ Penn. Yes, that fight against BJ Penn was Nick Diaz's most recent victory inside any kind of professional fighting apparatus, whether it be a cage or ring. That was at UFC 137 in October of 2011. That was a decade ago.
Yeah,
that was a decade ago was the last time Nick Diaz got his hand raised in a professional fight. Robbie Lawler, real quick. I mean, needs no introduction, right? Incredible record, 28 victories as a pro, 20 knockouts. He's right. But unfortunately, he's on the downside of his career right now, right? We got treated to the Lawler era at welterweight when Robbie was on top. It was an incredible run filled with a string of some of the most legendary fights that we've ever seen, all from one guy.
Yeah.
So right now he's riding a 4-fight losing streak. He's gone 1-5 since losing his welterweight title to Tyron Woodley in devastating fashion. So, Omar, let me start with you. The return of Nick Diaz. What do you make of this? And how hard is it to predict, what he's going to look like and what this fight is going to look like?
I mean, I think it's kind of borderline impossible to really know what to expect at this point. The Diaz brothers, if nothing else, are a good time for sure. I don't think we'll ever get a boring fight from the Diaz brothers, but what would I like to think has happened in these last few years? I would like to think that Nick Diaz has taken time to make himself better, like as a person, right? So that he could focus on other things without getting all distracted and angry and all this other crazy shit that tends to go along with the Diaz event. Yeah. It seems like he's not about that gangster life no more. It seems like he's about the kids, right? So we might be having a different Nick Diaz era. This might be, Nick Diaz for the kids era. And that might be a different Nick Diaz entirely. We might never have seen this Nick Diaz fighting. So
right.
It's very hard to say. Lawler is less speculative. I think we know, we know what Lawler brings to the table. Very dangerous hands, but a lot of inconsistencies with his performances. Mm-hmm. I think more than anything, this is probably going to be a very violent fight. Nick Diaz is not one to shy away from getting hit, although he seems to hate it. And Lawler is, kind of a psychopath and also doesn't really care about getting hit. So I think it's going to be a lot of jawing in the octagon, I would imagine. But it's, like I said, hard to see what kind of Nick Diaz is going to come out.
Yeah. Mark, hard to predict, but if you had to predict, I'm making you predict. What is your prediction?
I have no idea. Yeah. So, I mean, real quick, there's an earlier episode of our show where I kind of gave the rundown of the story of this fight and the rematch that we have here. So if you were interested in like a longer rundown, I'm sure you could probably find it. But just real quick recap. These guys fought at UFC 47, and it was the birth of like the Diaz army, the Diaz persona. Going into that fight, Lawler was the heavy favorite. He was like the young stud in the UFC. It was billed as Lawler, like the knockout artist against Nick Diaz, jiu-jitsu fighter. Like no one even thought he had hands like that. And he hadn't really had the Nick Diaz attitude prior to that fight. And he comes in that fight, is outboxing Robbie Lawler. He's pointing at him. He's talking shit the whole fight. Joe Rogan is losing his mind in the commentary booth. He's like, I can't believe what I'm watching. He's pointing at him. He's giving him the middle finger. And he's just beating Robbie Lawler up, KOs Robbie Lawler, and gets on the mic after and does the Nick Diaz thing. And that was it. That was the beginning of the whole Diaz persona of everything. So this was one of the great fights in UFC history, a momentous fight in terms of one of the birth of one of the best personalities in UFC history. And then a personality that Nate obviously kind of adopted and not adopted. I mean, this is really who they are, right. But, ran with it as well to huge heights of popularity. So now we're here again, 17 years later. Crazy that this is happening. As you said, can't believe this fight is happening. It's a pick'em in the odds everywhere I look, which feels about right because who fucking knows what's happening in this fight. It's a hard one. Your mind kind of naturally looks at Robbie lately. He hasn't looked great. And your mind wants to say like, well, I can't pick Robbie. He hasn't really looked good. But you got to remind yourself, the only reason Nick Diaz hasn't also not looked good is because he hasn't fought in forever. Right. So it's like, it doesn't make sense to go about it that way because Robbie losing to top shelf competition might be better than Nick Diaz doing absolutely nothing. So it's just so hard to tell. He's been out for ages. It might be a war, which I hope. It might be this thing where Robbie Lawler does this new shell that he does and doesn't throw much, and Nick Diaz just points at him and lays down in the middle of the octagon. I have no idea what happens in this fight. It's impossible to gauge. In terms of breaking down the actual fight, I think it would be smart for Robbie to maybe mix in some calf kicks. He does have good kicks. He doesn't necessarily go to the calf. But the reason I'm saying that is because this is kind of a relatively new thing in MMA that Nick Diaz has never experienced before, and I wonder if he even trains for.
That's a great take.
Not to mention, like, when you haven't fought in that long, I wonder kind of like how hardened, how conditioned your legs are to take shots like that. I know Nick is in great shape and he's a triathlete and all this, but it's not the same as like getting repeatedly kicked in your legs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that could be an interesting strategy for Robbie to try to go with in a 5-round fight. I kind of want to come back to Nick just because of the cardio. Robbie does seem like he's fallen off lately, but again, who knows where Nick is? I don't know. It's so hard to make a prediction because there's nothing to really grab onto to base it on because we have no idea what Nick Diaz is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's close. I think it could be a war. I hope it will be. I'm going to say Nick Diaz by unanimous decision simply because I think the output, I hope, will at least be there from him, and I think that will maybe win the rounds.
Omar, this fight was originally booked at welterweight, and it got moved up to middleweight. Was it because I believe Nick requested it? Do you know more about this?
No, Nick didn't request anything. Nick told them this is at 185 now. This is what the fight will be at. Dana White said, I forgot what it was like to work with Nick Diaz. So there's that. So apparently Nick Diaz wants it at 185. Speculation is because he just doesn't want to cut weight. I totally believe that 100%. Robbie Lawler seems to not give not one shit about it and is totally down to go to 185.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. The only reason I have a problem with picking this fight is like, I really don't care who wins.
Yeah.
The treat is the fight, not the outcome. It is the fight.
Huh?
This fight is going to be fireworks. I think no matter how you scratch it. And Nick has there's every chance that Nick ends up face down, frankly, with his like face in the canvas. 100%. There's also every chance that Robbie Lawler ends up with like snoring from getting choked out, possibly getting a limb snapped. Possible. He could also have gotten clipped as well, just like the first time.
Possible.
The reality is I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no interest in spending time thinking about what's going to happen. I just want it to go down.
My mind is in a similar place. I think you explained that better than me.
It's just, I'm so hyped that we even get to see this now.
I would be more hyped if it was like 5 years ago.
Well, yeah.
At this point, both guys are knocking on 40. It just doesn't feel like a consequential fight in the UFC rankings. So it feels a little bit like a sideshow fight.
No.
I feel like you don't think so?
In the era of sideshow fights, Jesus Christ.
I understand what
like
you're
the
saying.
same
I understand
age.
what you're
They're
saying.
Like credential, like I'm okay with this fight because they're both guys that can still defend themselves. They can still fight. They can still perform. Yeah. This is not a Triller nonsense. This is not a sideshow. I will say that you are correct that there are no consequences to this fight as far as like no one's going up, no one's going down, no one's getting a title shot. There's no real like
the only
long-term point to this fight.
The only true consequence I can think of, and it's certainly possible, is if Robbie Lawler sleeps Nick Diaz.
Sure.
That will have a rough effect on the aura of Nick Diaz.
It'll be legendary. I mean, there's possibilities that there could be legendary written all over this fight, but like no one's coming away with the title shot regardless of who wins, right? No one's becoming a number one contender.
Nick Diaz said today that he shouldn't be fighting Robbie Lawler. He should be fighting Usman out of the gate, and that he would beat the shit out of Usman. So factor that in.
That's just such a Diaz brothers quote. It's such a Diaz brothers quote, man.
I don't think he would.
The guy hasn't won a fight in 10 years. He's coming off of 3 losses. The most recent one turned into a no contest. How much weed do you have to smoke to think you deserve a title shot at welterweight in the UFC? And he asks for the fight to be moved up to middleweight.
I was just going to say, they gave him a 5-rounder, even though it's not a main event or a title fight. They
or
let
co-main.
him move to middleweight, and he's still like, such bullshit. They didn't give me a title fight.
Oh my gosh. So my prediction is this: as much as those other outcomes are possible, it's possible that Nick subs Robbie. It's possible that Robbie sleeps Nick. And if that happens, by the way, I think Nick Diaz goes the way of Ronda Rousey, and that Ronda Rousey
I agree.
makes her comeback against Amanda Leone. Boom. Bye-bye Ronda. And it's if that happens, if Robbie
Against Amanda who?
Leone.
What did I say?
You said Leone.
Who the fuck is Amanda Leone?
Oh, because that's her nickname.
Lioness?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I'm confusing somebody else. I thought it was her nickname.
Lioness.
Like in
Lioness,
Brazilian,
not
like
Leone.
in Portuguese.
Oh, is it? Is that how you
Something
say
like
it? Maybe.
I think that's what her Instagram handle is.
Could be. Okay, carry on.
Amanda Nunes. Fuck it. I'm abandoning this point. Here's my prediction. As much as those things are possible, my prediction is that this is going to be a wacky fight. Okay. I
I'm
just
afraid
don't.
of.
It's going to be a wacky fight. It's the score. It's going to be really tough to score this fight. It's going to be all over the place. I think we might see some kind of weird split decision at the end of it. That's my main prediction. I don't see Nick. He's going to be standing across another guy who's just another killer, and he's going to be all taunting, heavy, and acting all crazy in the octagon. He might lay down. He might take out a sleeping bag. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
He's going to do a lot of pointing. And then at the end, he's going to say that Robbie ran from him the whole time or something like that. And then like he might catch Robbie because Robbie finally like puts his hands on his hips and he's like, what is this guy doing? And then he's like, I'm the best. I think it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a Diaz brothers crazy fight.
I can't wait.
A high probability that you nailed that whole thing.
That's my prediction. Let us move on.
Wait, Omar, who'd you take?
Who'd you take? I'm sorry. Did I miss your
pick?
pick?
I didn't take.
Oh, because you said you didn't want to.
Come on.
You got to take someone. Who wins it?
I'm going to go with Nick Diaz.
Nick Diaz by?
I'm going to go with Nick Diaz. I'm going to go with Nick Diaz by TKO.
I'm going to go with Robbie Lawler by split decision.
Nick by unanimous decision.
Wow. Okay. We have made it to the co-main event. Whew.
Of the evening.
Thank you. Valentina the Bullet Shevchenko, the queen of the women's flyweight division, defends her title once again against Lauren Murphy. There you go. So, Mark, let me start with you. The flyweight queen defending her castle once again. What do you think?
Let's get this stupid Lauren Murphy run over with. I have had enough of it. She is not good at fighting. Enough. I mean, you know what I mean. I shouldn't say she's not good at fighting.
I'm not good at fighting.
She didn't beat Andrea Lee. She didn't beat Joanne Calderwood. There's nothing I like about her style or anything that she does in the cage. This 5-fight winning streak or whatever it is garbage to me because she only won 3 of these fights, in my opinion. Enough of her. I think she's going to get trounced. I hope she's going to get trounced. Valentina is better than her everywhere, the same as she's better than everyone else everywhere. She'll show it. The damage will add up. Is it over in the first? Does Valentina play with her food? I don't know. Tough to tell. Odds-wise, real quick for what it's worth, Valentina minus 1,500. Lauren Murphy plus 800. I'll say 3rd round TKO for Valentina. It could be a sub. It could be an actual KO. It could be anything she wants. But enough of this Lauren Murphy run. Get her out of here and let me move on with this division.
Okay. Omar, what do you think? Shevchenko?
Hopefully Lauren Murphy doesn't listen to this.
Shevchenko or Murphy?
I think minus 1,500 for Shevchenko is way too low.
Oh, wow.
Honestly. Like, you could have made that minus 2,500 and it would have totally made sense. 1,500. I might even find 1,500 and pull that shit out, to be honest. That's as guaranteed as it gets at this point. I mean, I can't even think of a you caught her scenario where Lauren Murphy beats Shevchenko. Honestly, I can't.
Yeah, what would she catch her with?
I don't know. Literally nothing. Like I Lauren Murphy has her skills. She's strong where she's strong, but the level of talent and the level of skill between Shevchenko and the whole damn division, not just Lauren Murphy, let's be clear. Mm-hmm. The whole damn division is they're not even on this, they're not reading the same book. You got people reading intermediate level while Shevchenko is writing the master one. Like Shevchenko, as long as she's there, short of her fighting Amanda Nunes, maybe Joanna again, maybe. And even then, I mean, that was still a very one-sided victory as far as I was concerned. It was a decision, right? Like she couldn't take Joanna out. Joanna can hold her own, but that was all Joanna was doing, was holding her own. There was at no moment was Joanna about to win that fight at any point. So my point with all that is Shevchenko is years, decades ahead of these women. And it's when you get women who have climbed up the ranks the gritty way, you know, fought against women who also aren't as talented as Shevchenko is, it gives them, in my opinion, a false sense of confidence going into these fights. And look at what happened to Jessica Ai. Love Jessica Ai. Jessica Ai is a fantastic personality, great fighter. She's nowhere near Shevchenko. And the girl almost lost like part of her head. Like almost lost it that whole night. Lauren Murphy's going to end up the same way. There's going to be a giant knot somewhere on her head by the end of that night. It almost seems irresponsible to put them in the ring together, in my opinion. I do hope Lauren Murphy does not listen to this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, Shevchenko by destruction is the probable pick, and I will make it.
I can't even think of an if. Like a lot of times in these lopsided fights, you can say like the one if long shot would be this. Like there's not even, I can't even conjure up something Lauren Murphy could do.
Like maybe she clinches her for 5 rounds and to a victory.
But to what? But you're saying
for
clinch,
3 rounds? Could
you're
she
saying
clinch
Shevchenko? Like if she's got the option, Shevchenko's gonna like body slam this girl if she tries to grab hold of her. She's got judo throws for days. She's definitely got wrestling, and she's proven that time and time again. If by no one else, by Jessica Andrade.
So, no one. Last fight, it was crazy.
Yeah.
No one does that to
Andrade. Murphy just can't catch her. She's not going to catch her, man. She's not going to catch her.
No. Short of her coming in with a chair, it's not going to happen.
On to the next for Shevchenko.
On to the next for us, gentlemen. We have arrived at the main event, a featherweight championship bout between Alexander the Great Volkanovski versus Brian T-City Ortega, once again for the UFC featherweight title. So we got Volkanovski, 32-year-old Aussie, right? He's an Aussie or a Kiwi?
Aussie, right?
He's an Aussie, right?
Oh,
incredible records.
Yeah, he's Aussie. Yeah, Aussie. This
is amazing title fight. Both these guys have impeccable records. Volk 22-1 with 11 knockouts. That one loss came in 2013. Okay. Which was just only his 4th professional fight. He's been undefeated since. He's undefeated in the UFC. His last opponent was his rematch against Holloway in 2020 at UFC 251 in Abu Dhabi. He won that by split decision. Okay, it was a little controversial. A lot of people had that for Holloway. Ortega is only 30 years old, Californian. He's 5'9". He's going to enjoy a height and reach advantage over Volkanovski, as most of Volkanovski's opponents do. T-City's record also excellent, 15-1 and 1 no contest. Before his TKO loss to Max in December of 2018, he was riding a 6-fight win streak. And now after a nearly 2-year layoff, he got back to right back into the win column with a very impressive, maybe his best performance ever. Unanimous decision victory over Chen Sung-jun, the Korean zombie, back in October of 2020. So Mark, let me start with you. This incredible featherweight title fight. What are your thoughts? I'm going to leave that open for you.
I love this fight so much. I'm so glad it's finally here. I feel like we've been waiting for it forever. I guess because we have. It's probably been like a year that we've known this fight was happening, especially since they had to do the whole tough coaching thing and all this. It's been a long time. It's been a lot of anticipation to see these guys finally get in a cage. And Saturday, we are finally going to close the door behind them and see who's the better man. So I'm hyped for it. Volk, what can you say, man? As I've said before on some of these shows, for whatever reason, I'm not like fully sold on the unbeatability of Volk. As I've said, if he fought Max again, I would take Max, even though I do think Volk has beat him both times, for what that's worth. No matter how many times I rewatched that fight, wanting Max to have won it, referring to the second fight. 3, 4, 5 go to Volk every time I watch it. I really think he's the true champ. I think he has not lost a fight in the UFC. No controversy on my end. The guy's incredible. But so is Brian Ortega. He has the one loss, as you said, to Max, but he is only getting better. The form that he showed in his striking in his last fight against Korean Zombie was a jump that I was not expecting to see at all. I mean, it was like he skipped a level all of a sudden. He is super dangerous, which is why I love this fight. You almost, not like Volk isn't dangerous, but you kind of have this guy who's just so good at winning fights. Like, he knows exactly what he has to do to get points, to not get hurt, to win the rounds. And then you have this other guy who, for a lot of his fights, will take damage, get his ass beat, but then it doesn't matter because he's snatching a sub in a second, or he's hitting you with the flying knee. They're a very different style of fighter. One is a sudden finisher, and the other is like a round winner, more so. Not meant as any insult to Volk. So yeah, on that note, I think if this hits the cards, it will probably be Volkanovski. As I said, the guy is just so good at winning fights. He knows exactly how to adjust his strategies, which way to go. To kind of turn the tide of fights, win rounds. I think that his leg kicks and his body shots, even being the shorter fighter, will be a factor, something that could wear on Ortega as the fight goes on, accumulate damage that way. And I think the smart pick here, honestly, is probably Volkanovski. He's a minus 175 favorite for what it's worth. Ortega is plus 145 underdog, so really close. I do think Volk is probably the smart pick. For reasons I can't entirely put my finger on. Again, I haven't crossed that bridge of being 100% sold on him, and I'm not going to do it. I can't resist the danger that Brian Ortega presents. As I said, his striking looked so good, so improved. I think that will be a factor. And I just love that the guy can end it from anywhere. It can be a KO or a sub. He's so nasty on the ground. Granted, I'm sure it helps Volk that he's got that compact frame. He's a little harder to sub. And he does roll with Craig Jones on a regular basis, who is an animal in the jiu-jitsu world. So even though we don't get to see Volk's jiu-jitsu that much, I'm sure it's up to snuff. But you got to think Ortega's got the advantage there. I could see Ortega catch him with an uppercut, with a knee, even with an elbow in close. He's the more powerful dynamic striker of the two. And yeah, I can't resist the danger. I'm going to go with an Ortega finish. I'll say he cracks him hard with something and latches onto a sub, and it ends that way. I'll say third round, but super torn coming into this on which way I was going to go. It's an awesome friggin' fight, and I can't wait for it. So pumped.
Omar, man, oh man, this fight is hard to pick, but I think you could do it, buddy. What do you got?
So, personally, for this fight, Volkanovski is a very well-rounded fighter. The one thing I will say about his ground game is he presents himself to be a very anti-jiu-jitsu fighter, in the sense where he doesn't put himself in a lot of positions that allow people to take advantage of a submission game of any kind. People try to go for or might look for triangles with leg positioning, even arm positioning, to try to lock up a lazy arm or a loose arm within the guard. He doesn't really present a lot of those opportunities to get caught in those positions. I don't think that matters with Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega doesn't care about you giving him the easy thing that you get taught in class. Brian Ortega is going to bait you with danger And then he's going to chain that into the next thing, get you to move and try to wriggle your way out of that one. While you're trying to figure out the chain, he's going to hit you with another chain of submissions. There's a difference in the way that Brian Ortega presents his ground game than most fighters, I would imagine, Volkanovski has experienced. Knowing how to play a jiu-jitsu game when you are practicing jiu-jitsu is very different than when you're when you're doing a jiu-jitsu game in the middle of an MMA fight where you're getting punched. I just see Brian having such a significant advantage in specifically, not even necessarily the grappling game, but specifically the submission game, that I think it will make a difference in the outcome of the fight. The striking, I actually think, is very on par with each other. Different reasons why they fight very differently in the stand-up, but I think their effectiveness from both sides is very equal to one another. I think they both present very similar dangers. But on the ground, Volkanovski's ability to take somebody down, because he does like taking people down, especially because he wants to get that point. He wants to get that advantage at the end of the round or close to the end of the round. Even with that comfort potentially of being towards the end of the round, Brian Ortega will still catch your neck and you could still go to sleep in 10 seconds. There's just more inherent danger in my head from Brian Ortega's submission game than any other game that either one of them present.
Wow. I thought I was gonna be alone on that. Let's go. Team T City.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Brian Ortega's submission round 4.
Wow. Oh my God. It's so you're so confident. I can't believe it. This fight is so hard to pick. I mean, just said, like, neither one of these guys ever loses. So it's like, how do you pick who loses and how? Man, I'm gonna buck the trend here. I'm gonna go with Volkanovski, and I'm gonna take Volkanovski by TKO.
Wow.
I think Volkanovski, he has gotten a sort of a reputation as a decision fighter, but let's not forget that half of his victories as a pro have come by knockout. He finished Chad Mendes by TKO. Yep. I think that was the fight where he punched him like right on the nose and like broke his nose.
Yeah, I think so.
But since then, he decisioned Jose Aldo, and then he decisioned Max twice, and both of those were very close. And I think, in today, he has this reputation now as this decision fighter. But I think it's going to be a fight where he surprises a lot of people and reminds everybody that he does have power at featherweight. And I'm just going to say it. I think he's going to knock him out. I mean, Brian Ortega got beat up real bad by Max Holloway.
Yeah.
So so somebody did show that he could be tagged real good. But even though he didn't go down in that fight, shit, now I'm like regretting this pick now. He didn't go down to that damn fight. I don't know, man. You know what? I've changed the course before it's too late. I'm going to say Volk by decision. That's my pick. I'm exhausted. We've reviewed so many fights.
It's a crazy night, man. It's going to be a crazy night of fights from beginning to end. I mean, we really might see it. This might be one of those types of fights where we might have to run it back.
Which one? The main event?
The main event.
I hope not.
It's very possible, man.
How come?
Because the Max Holloway that just beat Calvin Kattar was maybe the best fighter I've ever seen in a cage in my entire life. That man needs to fight for the title yesterday. And I understand he still has to fight Yair, and he could lose to Yair.
Yeah.
But if he looks like that again, and you tell him he's got to wait again for these guys to run it back, oh boy, that doesn't seem fair. He was. I mean, you cannot look better than he just looked against Calvin Kattar.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Even better than what Brian Ortega looked against Korean Zombie.
Yeah, especially if it's Ortega that wins the belt. Because then Max can be like, well, I already whooped this dude. How are you not giving me the shot?
Yeah, right.
So
this is such an incredible night of fights, and I'm going to miss every minute of it.
Oh, but you're going to miss it. He's going to miss it for a good reason.
Oh, that's when you're for a good reason. Oh, my God. I didn't realize that, dude.
That's right. Saturday night, if you're in New York, come out to Queens, to Middle Village. I'm announcing Warriors Cup Chikara. It's going to be an incredible night of Muay Thai. This is seriously on the New York regional circuit Muay Thai scene. This is a stacked card as well. And if you're in New York and if you also hate MMA but love Muay Thai, there probably is nobody who exists who fits that description. I'm telling you guys, this is going to be an amazing night of fights, and I am so excited to be announcing these incredible Muay Thai fighters. Omar's shaking his head. Why?
Because I can't believe I'm missing this stupid ass event by 24 hours. I'm going to be in New York literally the day after, and it drives me crazy.
Dude, I didn't even realize that it was this Saturday. But for what it's worth, to anyone who might be considering going, I went to the last one and it was dope. Like high level, it was good. It was a good time.
Yeah, it's a great team. And New York Muay Thai, man, it's a dope scene, man. All right, boys, that's a wrap.
Get it.
Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. Please tell a friend, tell a stranger, stop people on the street, tell them about the best new MMA podcast.
Omar, any parting shots?
I just want to thank you guys for having come into the MMA-Sphere.
Get the fuck out of here.
Why has it become a late night, like soft jazz DJ host?
Honestly,
like,
in my head, I hear saxophones playing in my head. Little Kenny G
good
while I do it, you know?
Thank you guys for sticking with us. If you're enjoying And New, please consider subscribing to our channel, subscribe to our podcast, and find us on social media at @AndNew_MMA show. Peace.
Yes, sir. Might be doing some live tweeting during the pay-per-view, so check us out.
Ooh. Take care, guys. Later.
Later.